Hey, what's up? You're in for a real treat. I'm about to show you two pairs of Nike Moon shoes, which are Nike's Holy Grail. The first major innovation at Nike was the waffle sole, and it was invented by Bill Bowerman. One Sunday morning, Bill was having waffles for breakfast with his wife Barbara, and he was inspired. He had this idea that if he could invert the waffle, he could create little nubs like this that he could put on the soles of running shoes, and the shoes would grip the ground better, and you could wear them on all different kinds of surfaces. The very first Nike shoes that feature waffle soles are called Moon shoes. Before we take a close look at both of these pairs, I want to show you this book. It's called Irreverence Justified, and it's considered the Nike Bible. The metallic gold cover is actually made out of the exact same material as the track spikes that Michael Johnson wore in the 1996 Olympics. When we open up this book, you will see that there's not a whole lot of text in here at all. Instead, the pages are filled with pictures of the most important Nike shoes that have ever come out. And at the very beginning, on page 1, is the Nike Moon shoe. Notice that Nike's calling the Moon shoe a waffle racing flat, which is the technical name for the shoes. Waffle, because they have waffle soles. Racing, because the shoes were made for racing. And flat, because the soles are flats, not spikes. So why do we call waffle racing flats Moon shoes? Well, the answer to that goes all the way back to 1969, when man first traveled to the moon. When Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin stepped foot on the moon, their moon boots left impressions on the lunar surface. Fast forward a few years to 1972, when Nike made these shoes and gave them out to runners. The waffle soles left impressions on the ground that were reminiscent of the impressions that the astronauts left on the moon. And these shoes were nicknamed Moon shoes. Legend has it that Nike Moon shoes were officially debuted at the 1972 Olympic trials. The trials took place in Eugene, Oregon, at the University of Oregon at Hayward Field. Here's a ticket to the events. You can see that the trials took place from June 29th through July 9th, 1972. Nike hand-cobbled about a dozen pairs of Moon shoes for athletes who were competing in the marathon at the Olympic trials. And the marathon took place on the last day of the trials, so July 9th. And July 9th, 1972 is widely considered to be the day that the Moon shoes were debuted. But get this, the pair of Moon shoes that you're looking at right here on the left actually predates the Olympic trials by 2 months. Wait until you hear the story about the man who owns both of these pairs of Moon shoes. They're owned by somebody named Steve Surface. Let's look at some pictures. Here's an old picture of Steve running alongside his teammate Tom McChesney when they ran track at South Eugene High School. The name of the team was the Axemen, and you can very clearly see that Steve and Tom are wearing Moon shoes. Steve and Tom were the star runners at South Eugene High School, and Nike actually made each of these guys one pair of Moon shoes to wear and try 2 months before the Olympic trials. Check out this picture. Here again is Steve and Tom in their Moon shoes. And this picture was taken on May 11th, 1972 at Hayward Field at the University of Oregon when South Eugene High School took on North Eugene High School in a meet. It's incredible to look at this picture of these two guys wearing Moon shoes on the exact same track where Moon shoes were unveiled 60 days later. Let's keep looking at pictures. It's incredible that Steve has so many pictures of him wearing moon shoes where you can very clearly see the shoes. I mean, we're talking about 1972 when nobody had iPhones and there were not a lot of photographers at track meets, and most of the pictures of track meets don't clearly show the runner's feet. You may have noticed that the two pairs of moon shoes that you're looking at are different from one another. And that's because they were made 6 months apart. We've already mentioned that Steve received this pair in May of 1972, and then July 9th, 1972 is considered the debut of the moon shoes. Well, a few months later, Nike made moon shoes just like this for the entire team of runners at South Eugene High School. Let's look at some more pictures. Here again is that picture of Steve and Tom. And another pic. And another one. Most of these pictures were taken by the Register Guard, which is the big newspaper in Eugene. It's amazing because there are actually more pictures of these high schoolers wearing moon shoes than there are pictures of people wearing moon shoes at the Olympic trials. I love this picture because you could so clearly see the little waffle nubs on the sole of the shoe. So you may be wondering, why would Nike make a bunch of moon shoes for a team of high school runners? Well, the answer to that is because Jeff Hollister went to South Eugene High School. Hollister was one of the original Nike employees, and he was the promo guy at the 1972 Olympic trials. Hollister wrote a book called Out of Nowhere, and in his book, he actually talks about how he hand-cobbled the moon shoes right before the Olympic trials. So because of Jeff's connection to South Eugene High School, Nike made moon shoes for the entire team. Just amazing. So now let's take a look at these shoes. And before we get into all of the little details on them, let's just talk about them from a macro perspective. So the uppers are made of nylon, and they actually started off white. You have to remember that these shoes are almost 50 years old, so they've turned tan and brown over the years, which is very common for all of the Nike moon shoes that have survived. So these white nylon uppers were imported from Japan to Eugene, Oregon, and in Eugene, black swooshes were sewn onto the uppers, waffle soles were put on the bottoms, and boom, we've got moon shoes. You may have noticed that this original pair doesn't say Nike on it anywhere at all. There's no tag on the tongue. There's no writing inside of the shoes. The only things having to do with Nike on these original moon shoes are the big, beautiful black swooshes on the uppers. And check this out. The swooshes were actually sewn on using fishing line. Let's compare those details on the first pair with the same details on the second pair. You may have noticed that the second pair does say Nike on it. That right there is the original Nike logo. It says Nike in lowercase cursive font on top of an orange swoosh. When people first saw this, they actually misread it as Mike. And Nike actually made a lot of t-shirts with this logo on them, and runners were wearing the t-shirts, and people thought that everybody's name was Mike and that everybody was wearing t-shirts with their names on it, which is funny. Let's have a look at the swooshes on this pair. You'll notice that the shape of the swooshes are different on this pair than on that pair. And you'll also notice that these swooshes were not stitched on with fishing line. The stitching is black. Steve Surface likes to describe this moon shoe as sleek, and I agree with him. And now let's look back at the tongue again. check out this foam that you see right here, which is not present on the original moon shoe right over here. This foam is reminiscent of Nike waffles that were actually mass produced and sold to the public, like the Oregon waffle, the waffle trainer, the waffle racer, the entire lineage of Nike waffles. These are prototypes to those, but it's cool to see the tongue on this shoe start to resemble tongues on production models. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to put this shoe down and grab an Oregon waffle. Here we go. You can see that this shoe is green and yellow, which are the colors of the Oregon Ducks. Let's get right to the tongue. And there's that original Nike logo. And then when you look at the tongue, you can see the foam right here, just like on that second pair of moon shoes. Check this out. When you look closely at the Nike logo, you'll see this little R. That's the registered trademark of Nike. And when we go back to the moon shoe over here, you'll notice that there is no little R on there because the moon shoe predates Nike as a registered trademark. Now, while we've got this Oregon waffle here, let's talk about another fun little legal fact about these moon shoes. Let's check out the waffle soles. They're gorgeous and green. And when you look at the back heel right here, you can see it says US patent number 3793750. And that's the patent number for waffle soles. When we go back to these moon shoes and we look at the soles, you'll see that they do not say 3793750 because of course the moon shoes predate Nike's patent for the waffle sole. While we're looking at the waffle sole right here on the original pair, check this out. The soles were stitched down to the shoes all the way around the perimeter. So in addition to gluing the waffle soles onto the nylon uppers, Nike also stitched them down. And the reason why they did this was because they were concerned that the shoes would not hold up and that the waffle soles would fall right off. And because of these stitches, Nike built the shoes with these sock liners in here. That insole is called a Spenco sock liner. It's spelled S-P-E-N-C-O. And the reason for the sock liner was to make sure that the stitches did not rub up against runners' feet. When we look at the second moon shoe right over here, check this out. This is incredible. The waffle soles are not stitched down here. They're just simply glued, which is incredible because in the 6 months between when Nike made the first moon shoe and they made this moon shoe, they figured out how to attach the soles to the upper without the stitching. And when we look on the inside of the second pair, we'll see that they're still equipped with those sock liners for comfort, even though these shoes don't have stitches that go all the way through. And another reason why these stitches would have gone all the way through is because these moon shoes do not have midsoles. They just simply have nylon uppers and outsoles, and that's incredible because it means that the shoes will not deteriorate and crumble over time. While we've got this original moon shoe in our hand, let's look at another really cool little detail. Actually, a lot of little details. Look at all these little holes that are punched in here. These holes were hand punched by Jeff Hollister. In his book, Out of Nowhere, he talks about hand punching these holes, and he talks about making moon shoes for people that were wearing them in the Olympic trials. The holes were punched to make the shoes more breathable. When we look at the second pair, you'll notice that it does not have holes in it for breathability. I'm not exactly sure why, except to say that all moon shoes are unique and different. Some have this and some have that, And that one over there has perforations, and this one does not. It's really incredible to see two pairs of moon shoes and to be able to watch the evolution of the Nike waffle on the very first shoes to feature that technology. Both of these shoes are up for auction right now at Sotheby's, and they're in the same lot, meaning that one lucky winner will get to own both of these shoes. If you click on the link in the description of this video, it'll take you right to the auction and you can check out the shoes. Good luck bidding. It's been an absolute pleasure walking you through the ins and outs of Nike's holy grail, the Nike Moon shoes.